What if you could harvest baskets of fresh vegetables without ever having a traditional garden plot? No endless digging, no turning over heavy soil, no large raised beds dominating your backyard. All you really need are a few containers, good quality potting mix, adequate sunlight, and carefully chosen crops. That's the beauty of container gardening. Even the smallest balcony, apartment patio, front porch, or sunny windowsill can become a productive growing space. In fact, many vegetables thrive in containers because gardeners can control soil quality, moisture levels, drainage, and growing conditions far more easily than in the ground. Today, we'll explore 7 vegetables that consistently perform exceptionally well in containers. These crops are productive, easy to manage, beginner-friendly, and capable of producing surprisingly generous harvests even when space is limited. 1. Tomatoes, the king of container gardens. There are few gardening experiences more rewarding than picking a perfectly ripe tomato you've grown yourself. The flavor is richer, sweeter, and far more complex than anything found in most grocery stores. Freshly harvested tomatoes warmed by the sun offer a taste that store-bought varieties simply can't match. The best part? You don't need a large backyard to grow them successfully. Tomatoes adapt exceptionally well to containers because pots allow you to create ideal growing conditions. You can provide nutrient-rich soil, maintain consistent moisture, and position plants exactly where they'll receive maximum sunlight. However, selecting the proper variety is important. Large, indeterminate tomatoes often become too vigorous for small growing spaces. Compact, determinate varieties and bush tomatoes generally perform much better in containers because they remain manageable while still producing abundant harvests. Excellent options include Patio Princess, Tiny Tim, Roma, and Better Bush. These varieties were specifically developed to thrive in limited spaces while producing plenty of fruit. Choosing the right container tomatoes appreciate room for their roots. A container holding at least 5 gallons of soil is typically recommended, although larger pots often produce even better results. Larger containers dry out more slowly and provide a more stable environment for root development. Proper drainage is essential. Tomatoes dislike waterlogged conditions, so every container should have several drainage holes to prevent excess moisture from accumulating. Use a quality potting mix rather than garden soil. Potting mixes remain loose, airy, and well-drained, creating healthier conditions for root growth. Before planting, blend compost and a slow-release organic fertilizer into the soil. Tomatoes are heavy feeders that require a steady supply of nutrients throughout the growing season. Sunlight and water requirements. Tomatoes love sunshine. Aim for 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight each day for the best fruit production. If you're growing indoors, supplemental grow lights can provide excellent results. Many gardeners keep lights running for 12 to 14 hours daily to ensure vigorous growth. Water regularly and consistently. Sudden fluctuations between dry and wet soil can contribute to common issues such as blossom end rot and fruit cracking. Using mulch or self-watering containers can help maintain even moisture levels, particularly during hot summer weather. Ongoing care. As plants mature, remove lower leaves to improve airflow around the stems and reduce disease pressure. Installing stakes or cages early helps support the plant before heavy fruit begins weighing down the branches. Many gardeners also like growing basil nearby. Besides being a perfect culinary companion, basil may help deter certain pests and is often believed to enhance tomato flavor. When harvest season arrives, you'll quickly understand why tomatoes remain the most popular container vegetable. There's something incredibly satisfying about stepping outside and picking fresh tomatoes directly from a single pot on your patio or balcony. 2. Peppers, small plants with big harvests. While tomatoes often get most of the attention, peppers are equally deserving of a place in any container garden. Their colorful fruits, compact growth habit, and impressive productivity make them ideal choices for balconies, patios, and small outdoor spaces. Whether you enjoy sweet bell peppers, jalapenos, banana peppers, or ornamental varieties in shades of red, yellow, orange, and purple, peppers bring both beauty and usefulness to container gardens. One reason peppers perform so well in pots is their love of warmth. Containers heat up more quickly than garden soil, creating the warm root environment peppers prefer. Combined with excellent drainage, this often results in stronger growth and higher yields. Best varieties for containers. Compact pepper varieties are especially well suited for small spaces. Popular choices include Baby Bell, Redskin, Gypsy, Jalapeno M, and Hot Portugal. Whether sweet or hot, most peppers require similar conditions: plenty of warmth, sunlight, and steady moisture. Container requirements. Peppers typically grow well in containers ranging from 3 to 5 gallons. Terracotta pots are a favorite among many gardeners because they allow air movement through the container walls. However, they can dry out more quickly during hot weather. Choose a lightweight potting mix enriched with compost rather than heavy soil that may compact over time. When transplanting, position peppers slightly deeper than they were growing previously. This encourages stronger root development and sturdier stems. Regular feeding also helps maximize production. Balanced organic fertilizers work well during early growth. Once flowering begins, fertilizers containing slightly higher levels of phosphorus and potassium can encourage more blossoms and fruit. Light and temperature peppers thrive in hot, sunny conditions. 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight each day is ideal. Warm surfaces such as brick walls, patios, or concrete areas can help reflect heat back onto plants, often increasing productivity. Night temperatures between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit are generally ideal for fruit development. If temperatures drop significantly, flowers may fail to set fruit. Gardeners in cooler climates often move containers indoors during chilly nights to maintain optimal growing conditions. Watering and pollination peppers prefer evenly moist soil but do not tolerate constantly saturated roots. Water whenever the upper inch of soil begins to dry. Adding mulch helps conserve moisture and stabilize root temperatures. Indoor growers or gardeners with sheltered balconies can improve pollination by gently shaking flowering plants every few days. Some experienced gardeners remove the earliest flowers to encourage stronger root growth before fruit production begins. Although it delays the first harvest slightly, it often leads to larger overall yields later in the season. Harvesting peppers can be harvested at multiple stages. Green peppers offer a crisp texture and milder flavor, while fully ripened fruits develop richer sweetness, deeper color, and higher nutritional value. Hot peppers also tend to become more intense as they mature. Regular harvesting encourages plants to continue producing throughout the season. A single healthy pepper plant can yield dozens of peppers from one container. Few container vegetables combine ornamental beauty and productivity as successfully as peppers. 3. Lettuce and leafy greens, fast, easy, and highly productive. For gardeners seeking quick results, few crops are more rewarding than lettuce and other leafy greens. These vegetables grow rapidly, require minimal space, and begin producing harvests just weeks after planting. They're ideal for beginners because success comes quickly and consistently. One reason greens excel in containers is their shallow root systems. Unlike larger vegetables, they don't require deep soil, making them perfect for window boxes, shallow planters, wooden crates, and a wide range of recycled containers. You can grow a surprising amount of food in a very small area. Another advantage is their preference for cooler temperatures. While tomatoes and peppers thrive during summer heat, leafy greens often perform best during spring and fall when conditions are milder. Excellent greens for containers. Combining different varieties creates more interesting harvests. Buttercrunch lettuce offers soft, tender leaves with a delicate flavor. Romaine contributes satisfying crunch and structure. Red leaf lettuce adds beautiful color and subtle sweetness. Mesclun blends are particularly popular because they contain multiple greens that regrow quickly after harvesting. Beyond lettuce, many other leafy crops flourish in containers, including spinach, arugula, kale, and Swiss chard. Light requirements and container selection. Unlike fruiting vegetables, most greens don't require full-day sunlight. 4 to 6 hours of daily sun is often enough for healthy growth. This makes them perfect for balconies, patios, and other locations that receive partial sunlight. Wide containers approximately 6 to 8 inches deep usually provide sufficient root space. Use fertile potting soil enriched with compost and ensure proper drainage to maintain healthy growth. Water and nutrition leafy vegetables prefer consistently moist conditions. If soil dries excessively, leaves may become bitter, tough, or less productive. Water regularly, especially during warmer weather, and aim to keep the soil evenly moist. Occasional feeding with diluted organic fertilizer or compost tea can help maintain vigorous growth and excellent flavor. Continuous harvesting. One of the most effective techniques for growing greens is known as cut and come again harvesting. Rather than removing entire plants, harvest only the outer leaves while leaving the center growing point intact. This allows plants to continue producing fresh foliage for weeks. Using this method, even a few containers can provide an ongoing supply of fresh salads throughout much of the season. Many gardeners also plant herbs such as parsley, chives, or dill alongside their greens. These companion plants can help discourage pests while adding flavor and diversity to the garden. With just a handful of seeds and several containers, you can create a steady harvest of fresh, nutritious greens only steps from your kitchen. 4. Potatoes. Unearthing nature's hidden treasure. If leafy greens offer quick rewards, potatoes deliver something even more exciting: surprise. Unlike many vegetables that proudly display their harvest above ground, potatoes do all their growing beneath the soil. While green stems and leaves quietly develop overhead, an entirely different process is happening out of sight. Underground, clusters of potatoes are slowly forming, hidden from view until harvest day finally arrives. And that's when the magic happens. When you tip over a container and sift through the soil, it feels less like gardening and more like a treasure hunt. Suddenly, smooth, golden, red, purple, or white potatoes appear, where there was seemingly nothing before. The good news is that potatoes are exceptionally well suited to container gardening. In fact, growing them in containers is often easier than planting them directly in the ground, especially for gardeners with limited space. Getting started. Unlike many vegetables that need room to spread horizontally, potatoes need vertical growing space. This makes deep containers, grow bags, large buckets, or specialized potato planters ideal choices. For best results, choose a container at least 12 to 16 inches deep, with several drainage holes at the bottom. Whenever possible, use certified seed potatoes rather than potatoes from the grocery store. Seed potatoes are specifically grown for planting and are less likely to carry diseases or growth inhibitors. Larger seed potatoes can be divided into sections, provided each piece contains at least one healthy sprouting eye. Allow the cut surfaces to dry for a day before planting to reduce the risk of rot. Planting and growth. Start by adding several inches of loose, nutrient-rich soil or compost to the bottom of the container. Place the seed potatoes on the soil with the sprouts facing upward and cover them with additional soil. As shoots emerge and begin growing taller, continue adding more soil or straw around the stems. This technique, known as hilling, is one of the keys to producing larger harvests. Potatoes form along buried portions of the stem. Each time additional soil is added, more underground stem becomes available to produce new potatoes. Over time, the container fills upward while a tower of developing tubers forms beneath the surface. Watering and nutrition potatoes prefer consistently moist soil, but they dislike overly wet conditions. Allowing the soil to remain saturated can encourage rot and disease, so proper drainage is essential. Water whenever the upper layer of soil begins to dry out. During hot weather, this may require watering several times per week. Fertilizers higher in phosphorus and potassium help support tuber development. Too much nitrogen, on the other hand, often encourages excessive leaf growth at the expense of potato production. Sunlight and temperature. Most potato varieties perform best with 6 to 8 hours of sunlight daily. Because potatoes prefer cooler root conditions, gardeners in hot climates often benefit from providing afternoon shade or insulating containers against excessive heat. Harvesting. When plants begin flowering, small, tender, new potatoes can often be harvested carefully without disturbing the entire crop. For full-sized potatoes, wait until the foliage turns yellow and naturally dies back. At that point, stop watering for roughly 2 weeks. This allows the skins to toughen, improving storage quality. Then comes the most satisfying part of all. Dump out the container and start digging through the soil. One by one, potatoes emerge from the darkness, like buried treasure that has been quietly growing beneath your feet all season. A single container can often yield several pounds of potatoes under favorable conditions. And after tasting freshly harvested potatoes from your own garden, it's hard to look at supermarket potatoes the same way again. 5. Carrots and root vegetables. Delicious harvests hidden below the surface. When people imagine container gardens, they often think about tomatoes, herbs, and peppers growing above ground. Yet some of the most rewarding crops spend nearly their entire lives hidden beneath the soil. Carrots, beets, radishes, and other root vegetables develop underground, while their leafy tops quietly collect sunlight overhead. Then, at harvest time, a simple pull reveals vibrant colors, crisp textures, and flavors that far surpass anything found in a grocery store. Freshly harvested root vegetables have a sweetness and freshness that are difficult to match. Why root crops love containers. Many root vegetables actually prefer container growing. They thrive in loose, stone-free soil where roots can expand without obstacles. Containers allow gardeners to create exactly those conditions without worrying about compacted soil, rocks, weeds, or competition from neighboring plants. Because root crops remain compact and require no trellises or pollination, they fit perfectly into balconies, patios, urban gardens, and other small growing spaces. Selecting containers and soil. For root vegetables, depth is more important than width. Most carrots and beets grow best in containers approximately 10 to 12 inches deep, while radishes are often happy with 6 to 8 inches of soil. Fabric grow bags, buckets, deep planters, and window boxes can all work well as long as drainage is adequate. The growing medium itself plays a major role in success. A lightweight potting mix enriched with compost creates ideal conditions. Many gardeners also add perlite or coarse sand to improve drainage and aeration. Dense or compacted soil often leads to forked, twisted, or undersized roots. Loose soil allows roots to grow straight, smooth, and uniform. Planting and maintenance. Unlike some vegetables, root crops generally dislike being transplanted. Seeds should be sown directly into the container where the plants will mature. Most varieties need only shallow planting, roughly 1/4 inch deep. Keep the soil consistently moist during germination. Carrots in particular require patience and may take up to 2 weeks before seedlings appear. Once seedlings emerge, thinning becomes one of the most important tasks. Although removing healthy young plants may seem wasteful, overcrowding often leads to poor root development. Proper spacing allows each root to expand fully underground. Best varieties for containers. Compact varieties are often easiest to grow in limited spaces. Carrots such as Thumbelina, Paris Market, and Little Finger are excellent choices because they mature quickly and perform well in shallower containers. Radishes are among the fastest growing vegetables available, often reaching harvest size in only 3 to 4 weeks. Their speed makes them ideal for beginners and children learning to garden. Beets take longer but offer a dual harvest: nutritious leafy greens above ground and sweet roots below. Watering and harvest. Consistent moisture is essential for quality roots. If the soil becomes too dry, roots may turn woody, bitter, or cracked. Water gently and regularly to maintain even soil moisture without disturbing developing roots. Radishes are generally best harvested as soon as they reach full size, since older roots can become pithy or overly spicy. Carrots and beets are usually ready when the tops of the roots begin showing slightly above the soil surface. Harvesting is always rewarding. Pulling a perfectly formed carrot or beet from the soil feels like uncovering a hidden prize that has been quietly developing for weeks. Root vegetables remind us that some of the most impressive growth in the garden happens where we can't see it. 6. Bush beans. Small plants with remarkably big returns. Now let's move from crops hidden underground to one of the easiest vegetables you can grow above the soil: bush beans. If you want a compact plant that delivers reliable harvest without requiring a large garden, bush beans are hard to beat. They grow quickly, require minimal maintenance, and can produce impressive quantities of fresh food from a surprisingly small space. Within a matter of weeks, a simple container on a balcony or patio can become loaded with crisp, tender bean pods. Why bush beans excel in containers. Unlike pole beans, which need tall supports and plenty of vertical growing room, bush beans naturally remain compact. Most varieties stay under 2 feet tall, making them ideal for patios, balconies, decks, and small urban gardens. Another major advantage is speed. Many varieties begin producing harvestable beans within 50 to 60 days and continue generating new pods for weeks afterward. Container requirements. Bush beans perform well in containers around 12 to 14 inches deep. Excellent drainage is essential because beans dislike constantly wet soil. A fertile potting mix blended with compost provides steady nutrition throughout the growing season. Avoid excessive nitrogen fertilizers, which often encourage leafy growth while reducing bean production. Direct sowing works best. Plant seeds approximately 1 inch deep and leave several inches between them. In warm soil, germination is usually rapid and often occurs within a week. Sunlight and watering bush beans thrive in full sun and typically require 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily. Water deeply enough to thoroughly moisten the root zone while allowing excess water to drain away. Consistent watering is important because prolonged dry periods can cause blossoms and developing pods to drop prematurely. In hotter climates, a layer of mulch helps maintain soil moisture and moderate root temperatures. Pollination and harvest production. Bush beans are self-pollinating, meaning they can produce pods without significant assistance from insects. However, bees and gentle air movement can still improve yields. Small blossoms appear first, followed shortly by tiny bean pods that grow rapidly. One of the most enjoyable aspects of growing beans is how productive they become. The more mature pods you harvest, the more flowers and new beans the plants tend to produce. Recommended varieties. Reliable container-friendly varieties include Provider, Bush Blue Lake, and Contender. Yellow wax beans and purple potted varieties are also excellent options for gardeners seeking additional color and variety. An added bonus: improved soil fertility bush beans provide more than just food. As legumes, they work with beneficial soil bacteria to capture nitrogen from the atmosphere and store it within the root zone. At the end of the season, many gardeners cut the plants at ground level and leave the roots in place. As those roots decompose, they gradually release nitrogen back into the soil, helping improve fertility for future crops. In other words, the plants help feed the soil while feeding you. Harvest time. Harvesting bush beans is simple and rewarding. Pick pods regularly while they are still tender and crisp. Freshly harvested beans offer superior sweetness, texture, and flavor compared to most store-bought alternatives. For such compact plants, bush beans deliver an impressive combination of productivity, soil improvement, and continuous harvests, all from a single container.